Welcome to the Systems Edge podcast, where we try to have those conversations where the kind that just don't happen out in the open, those ones that happen behind closed doors a lot of times, just honest conversations about operational challenges and what works, what doesn't work. And so today we're joined by Ritsema, president of i3 Business Solutions, a managed service provider helping companies manage their IT infrastructure. And Mike, thanks for being here today and welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, David. Let's go.
Thank you. Why don't you start off by telling our audience a little bit about yourself, not the LinkedIn version, just a little bit of who you are and what you do more on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I'm a guy that woke up 30 years ago and ended up in the technology industry with IBM. And 30 years later, you've got a career. I am an entrepreneur who's always wanted to take a risk, love a challenge. So whether it's ping pong, golf, running, or business, somebody put me in the game. I need a challenge. I need risk. It's just the way I'm built. So yeah, 25 years ago, bought a business and got on the roller coaster of business and risk and all that goes with it. And i3 Business Solutions today, although we started in consulting and ERP software, the software that runs a business. During the Great Recession, we moved over to managed technology services, basically manage the technology risk of my business. And when I have a problem, help me. We become the IT department for companies or organizations, or we help the IT department.
Very good. Um, walk our audience through yesterday, or just what a typical day looks like for you as president, doing what you do.
Yeah, I think as a small business owner over the years and in the journey of business, we talk about working on the business and in the business. And good news, today I'm in a position, we're approaching 50 employees. We acquired a company a year and a half ago, which gave us the, more breadth to do more wearing less hats. I think the challenge of business always is, especially small business. I'm wearing too many hats. And I did that for my whole career. Is people would complain, I've got like 6 jobs. Well, welcome to small business. In someday, maybe you'll only wear one hat. Good news, I'm approaching that point where I get to spend more time working on the business. I'm actually thinking about next year now. I can tell you that 5 years ago, wrong. I'll do that the last week of December because what did I do yesterday, you ask? And I was in a lot of meetings and I'm looking at things that need improvement. I'm inquiring about processes that need to be improved. We did have a classic traction L11 meeting yesterday. Yes, that's right. L11, we're one better than any L10 meeting. And we talked about people. Absolutely, the business is people. It is process. And so we talked about people and client challenges. But the good news is at this point in my career and in the growth of i3, a small business, I'm wearing less hats, have delegated more, and can work on the business more.
Yeah, good for you. That's great. Um, as Freedom Dev, we do custom software. We do a ton of integration and migration work. And you and I, before we started this, we're chatting a little bit about that. I'm guessing, talk to a lot of business leaders all the time. What are some big frustrations you hear from them in terms of business operations? And maybe as part of that, talk about what's broken and what's not working in your opinion.
Yeah, and part of my passion, part of my advice to anybody listening to this show, what's Mike Ritsema's number one recommendation or advice is find a mentor, find a peer group. And I am in a number of peer groups right now. I'm in a family business peer group with business owners where we talk about the real stuff of business. I'm in a technology peer group with business owners, 10 of them. We meet 4 times a year somewhere in America, and we talk about real business stuff that we're dealing with. And I think it ranges. In the family business group, some automotive manufacturers was very soft for over a year. The uncertainty in the economy. And I think the biggest conversation we have is around, well, it's around risk and growth. It's either I'm dealing with risk in the business financially, people wise, technologically. Um, the risk of running a business is real and keeping it going. And then it's around sales growth. Boy, if we could all crack the sales and marketing growth puzzle, it'd be an easy world, right?
Yep.
So, so these are the things we talk about is the various risk, people asking me about technology risk, what do you recommend? What do we do? And then, constantly working on how do we get more sales? We need more business. We need more revenue.
Yep. Yep. Good. So I guess along those notes, if there's one bottleneck in your own business or you see in other businesses that if you solved it would unlock significant growth, what would you, is there anything you could point to?
Well, I think, classic small business journey is the ups and downs. And one of the values of a peer group, I vividly remember that years ago, I'm sitting in the room with a guy from Canada with a really cool company, very successful, wildly successful. And so you look at some of these companies, it's like they've got it nailed. What a perfect organization. He walked in the room and said, our project management is totally messed up. I just had to dive into it 100% and figure out what's going on. I'm like, well, that's part of the value of peer groups is commiseration. It's like, man, I'm not the only
Group
one
therapy,
with
right? It's
problems.
group therapy. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, that that's the
I
opportunity.
find myself in meetings all the time where that what you just described is comes up. They're like, wow, we thought we were the only ones dealing with this. It's like, no, there are companies with 100,000 employees and they run the whole company on Excel spreadsheets or whatever it is, right? So, yep.
Exactly. So what is it for I3 right now? Well, ebbs and flows over the years, and I think that's the challenge of small business. If you're anywhere from 5 to 50 or 100 or 500 employees, the challenge is ebb and flow. I mean, I think 3 to 5 years ago, we had our accounts receivable nailed. We had a young lady, just right on top of it. And then some things happened and she left the company. And I look up a year later, it's like, what's going on with AR? So we've whipped that back into shape and have that under control. I think that any business, service or production or operational excellence is the work. I actually have technology peers around the country. They're like, we don't even have a sales team. People
Mm,
just call us.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, that'd be very cool if the phone just rang and people are just, hey, would you help us? Yeah, run an operationally perfect organization so the phone just rings. So we ebb through that, right? We make a mistake or two. We improve the process. We improve the execution. But honestly, at this moment at I3, it is sales and marketing. We have a very solid service offering. We're doing a great job with delivery. We just brought on a new account. We're bringing on a new account in the last week that's pretty substantial for us. And so it's how do we get more? So I'm turning my attention at this time, not to projects, not to AR, not to execution. Have a good team for that. It's sales and marketing. We need to turn that crank. The priority at I3 at this moment.
Yeah, I've heard that for years. It drives everything. It just drives everything. And it's funny. I was having a conversation with my son-in-law last night, who is in manufacturing sales, high-end cameras and things like that. And he's gone into so many businesses, and he's just like, these guys don't they're just not applying what you're describing. He's like, there's so much opportunity if they would just apply themselves, but they just wait for the phone to ring. Just wait for the phone to ring. So, in your business, what types of, or in other businesses, what types of systems you've seen? Let's just go stick with your business. What types of business systems are you using? So, and by that I mean Excel spreadsheets, software as a service products. Like, what types of business systems are you using, and have you had to maybe integrate or automate in some level, or tap into AI even?
So this is, I love you right on top of. I love this subject right here, and you are in the integration and the programming industry, and I came out of it in the 90s with IBM, where the way we made money in the 90s was we'd go into a company that was running on paper, and we'd say, hey, we'll help you run the right software. And we helped them find the right software. It ran on very expensive IBM hardware. And so I can't believe that I was talking to a consultant this morning that said he went into a pretty large service organization right here in West Michigan that is running on paper. I don't know what industry, but basically I imagine, 10 to 20, 30 service people running around and they're just coordinating it.
Yes.
And so that goes to integration. What do we run our business on? And what I see changing in the software world in the last 30 years. And I was at a conference a week ago, and there was a vendor there with an ERP type software system I'd never heard of. And I asked him, what's the specialty industry? And he said, there's no specialty industry. Why would you need specialized software? We're talking about accounting. If you bring your car into for a repair, you just need a mechanic? He said something like that. I'm like, okay, thank you. But I disagree completely, because I think things have changed dramatically in the last 30 years. And if you're in HVAC or discrete manufacturing or process manufacturing or a technology, there are very vertical specialized software products for your industry. A lot of them are in the cloud, and you can quickly get down to 2 or 3 or 4 specialty software products that are prominent in your industry and make a decision on the right software to run your business. And at i3, we did that. Although I spent the 90s sitting down with companies, documenting their priorities by department, going out and finding 10, 15, getting it down to 3, going through demos. The way we selected our software at i3 is I sat in a peer group, said, holy cow, I'm an idiot. I'm running my company on QuickBooks and a product called Big Time, where we tracked time. It was integrated to QuickBooks. And 10 out of 12 people in the room were running a specific software product. And I said, I'm buying that product. Next subject.
Yes.
It's that simple. So very specialized, narrow to our industry.
Yeah, it's there's so much power in the group wisdom, right? Group think. It's just amazing. There's so much wisdom that iron sharpens iron, but you have to have ears for it too, which it sounds like you do. You're attuned to it, and you put your heart into what you do. I can tell you, because you really do have to put your heart into it to be attuned to these things. So, what type of metrics and reporting do you guys track? What's important to you in light of everything you said? I know there's the generalized approach, right? Yeah, you got to look at your quarterly or monthly accounting, of course. But is there any other special metrics you check, or even could encourage people to check? Maybe if you've.
Well, that's interesting, because like you said earlier, I do live at a higher level, a big picture on the company, and certainly the P&L and L and the balance sheet. But ironically, in our industry, and again, through peer groups, if you can find a benchmarking service in your industry where companies just like yours report into a centralized source and look at net profit, look at efficiency, look at gross margin, look at expense ratios. We've been doing that for over 10 years. And so if we go back 15 years ago when I joined the peer group, in the first year and a half, David, we doubled our net profit percentage.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
very impressive. In fact, they put my partner in front of the room in front of 200 people. I missed that meeting, or I would have liked him out there.
Yeah.
But and we
Wow.
doubled our net profit. But I told the company we still sucked because we were below industry average. We had no idea what excellence was, no context at all. And that's my point is if you can find a way to understand and benchmark, then you can start moving toward metrics that matter.
Right.
And that was step one
Right.
is no, yeah. So then we went from there. So you say, what metrics do you look at? Well, on a quarterly basis, we do look at our services gross margin. We're in the services industry. We are selling time. Time is our inventory. So to look at the gross margin on everything, we know what the benchmark standard is there. But then to narrow that down to the gross margin on services, we look at that very closely and we watch the W2 ratio, the multiple, the return on service expense. We watch that ratio against industry average. And then you get into expenses, managing our expense line and productivity in that way. And then for I3, where is the opportunity going into next year? It is in tightening those metrics down. In our traction L11 meeting, we do have a dashboard, and I won't go through the whole thing, but as we tighten up the metrics to department and individual measurables, the productivity of the organization goes up. And again, because we have less people or more people wearing less hats, we can start focusing in a more narrow way to improve the performance of the
And I know
company.
it didn't come overnight, right? It's taken time. How big is your team overall? You got 20, 30,
We're,
50? I don't even know.
I think we have 44 on payroll, but we also have some, offshore resources and specialist subcontractors that do work on a regular basis.
Sure, sure. It brings up an interesting thing, offshore resources. So we're doing that more and more too. I know a lot of people are right that the world's getting smaller with technology, but has that been beneficial to you? And I guess how has that helped your business and saved some time, energy, on resources? How has that played out?
Yeah, I think they say 65% of the world, 65% of your employees do not like change. And so that's a reality for as we continue the conversation on running a business and everything from automation to integration to AI. That's just a reality. And in a technology business, very similar. You have a lot of technology people. In fact, in small business, we want to hire people that love to come to work and do the same thing every single day. And then we say, and I need you to change. We got to crack the code on this AI automation thing.
Yes.
So that's the challenge of business. I submitted similar with offshore resources, and it changed during COVID. But if you go back 20, 30 years, we limit our employee resource to 30 to 45-minute commute from our office. We limit it to 1 million people. When there's 8 billion people in the world,
Right.
and some of the smartest people in the world that would love to work for us do not live in the state of Michigan. Now, the irony of COVID is that many of us went a year or two without seeing some employees. And I had one that lived 45 minutes down the road I didn't see for a year and a half. And then after COVID, same thing. Hey, I'll just work remote. It's so ironic to me that that person is a good fit at I3, but somebody overseas is not a good fit at I3. And that's the challenge of business is to, move people to a point of saying out of 8 billion people in the world, and maybe some that don't speak perfect English could be a part of my team.
Yeah.
And so I'm a proponent even while changing the mentality is difficult.
I never thought of it like that before. That's really, really powerful. Why wouldn't someone overseas fit if you got remote people here too?
Do you have any remote
We
people?
do. So our team's about a dozen developers, and we have um, two overseas, but they're W-2 employees. But yeah, I know personally for me, when you deal with, I've hired developers in the past. I found just being in, if they have a Western mindset, so there's something about the connection. It's easier to work with them. So I lean towards the Philippines. We do have someone in India. She does a great job, but there's something about that. I can't put a finger on what it is, and probably could have a whole podcast on there around that topic alone. So yeah, yeah. I know. I didn't know if we'd have time to get into AI, but and I know AI is an umbrella term, and it's, man, it is just unbelievable. It is It's going exactly where I thought it would. It's coming on just as hard as I thought it would. I know you guys. We're all using it to some degree, one way, shape, or form. Or the public's. It's being used on them for sure. um, I guess in a general sense, because we don't have time to get in. There's so many rabbit trails we could go down with that. What are your thoughts on that in general? And you pick a rabbit trail if you want to, but what are your thoughts?
No, I love to talk in general because I came out of software development and implementation, and I've seen, I kind of say everything goes in cycles, number one. So we had the mainframe, and then we, centralized computing. Then we went to distributed computing, the network. And then 10 years ago, it was the cloud. We have to go to the cloud, which is kind of centralized computing. And then 5 years ago, it was cybersecurity. So for i3, a technology company, we have to surf these changes and new things. And today, it is AI, right? But as I talk to i3, and again, at a technology company, maybe similar to an engineering company, maybe similar to architecture, maybe similar to financial services, accounting, is a lot of people that just want to do the same thing every day. Love that. And we have to change. So for us to change is difficult. And I've been banging the drum this year of automation. And so where we have great software tools, reporting, integrated tools, a centralized database, all kinds of information integration technology, but turning the crank on, but we could automate this with a workflow, with a script, with AI. We're slow
Yeah,
adopters.
yeah,
So I'm not banging. I tell the company, I'm not banging the drum of AI. No, I'm banging the drum of automation.
yes,
Now we are implementing a tool right now, and I was on a number of calls, and I actually challenged with my team some of my automation AI specialists. Right on the call, I said, I don't know. I don't think this is AI. I think this is nothing more than a good scripting engine and programming put together, packaged really nice. And they responded, no, let me tell you how AI is grabbing that information, reformatting it, automatically coming up with questions. And I turned to my team and they're like, yeah, Mike, this is AI. So finding that tool that integrates to your software or your business and automates a task does nothing more than automate a task where a human was involved. That's what we're trying to do
yes,
here. And one at a time, we're doing that. And some would call that, you know this, David, agentic AI. We need agents that actually automate. And then, oh, if you want to spin it as AI or somehow AI gets involved, that's fine. But that's what we're trying to do is automate.
yeah, yeah. I know this podcast alone. I believe there's six, because we have a team helping us on this. So we actually hired a company to help us with this. They're doing an amazing job. But there's six different AIs involved in production of this show, six different ones, and they all do something so unique. It's just amazing. But without it, to do this. Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. So, um, are you finding in your own life you pop into Chat GPT more? Are you doing that every day, or are you personally using some things as well? I know I do. I'm a daily user now. I find it challenging because we're learning as you're using. So what's it capable? I'll push the limits, like do a really long prompt or something just for fun.
So yeah, let's just take a minute and give some recommendations
There you
relative
go.
to AI. So number one, I recommend, and I've done this, although although I'm a change agent, I push change at I3. I push the company forward. I'm not great at change myself. We just changed password managers at I3. It traumatized
That
me.
would have been
It's like,
tough.
seriously?
Yeah.
But here's my recommendation to anybody listening to this podcast is if you're a Google user, you have Gmail, then have an automatic tab open on Chrome to Gemini. So when you open Chrome, you get your Gmail automatically opens, Gemini opens, maybe your calendar opens. So Gemini is now there all the time. I happen to use Edge for work and Chrome for personal. So for Microsoft 365, you can automatically open a tab called Copilot. Add that tab to your search, and now when you open, or just add it to your Chrome, so now you've got Gemini, you've got Copilot. In a perfect world, you're logging into Copilot. And then number three, Chat GPT. In my Chrome, I open Chat GPT automatically. I'm logged in. And then it's a matter of using. I think the consumption, David, of energy for AI is probably around 1.5 to 2x higher than it needs to be. Because when I go to AI and
Yes.
ask a question, I usually just copy paste the prompt into two or three, kind of scan them and grab what I
Yeah.
need. If anybody else in the world, you doing that ever?
Yeah,
No?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yes?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we're all consuming like 2x the AI we
That's what I've
have
heard.
to.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'll tell you
Okay.
an interesting one that a friend of mine has built, and we're testing it out with him. Is Bosco.bot, and it's in fact our sister company's using it right now, and it's been amazing. It's kind of sits between a survey and a focus group. And it's an AI agent. They can plug it into a shopping cart at the end, or you can, it's for a chat. But what's interesting is they turned into a phone number that, hey, take them in and call and have the conversation with the bot. And they're just getting such deep information from people they would have never been able to extract about their buying decisions. And the applications are just, pick a category you can use that for. So we're just starting to use that. So that'll be a fun one and stuff. So, um,
So the answer is, I have three tabs open. I'm progressively more and more. When I wonder about something, I'm going to AI more. I will make a recommendation I heard at a conference is, this is kind of fun, is because it's all about prompting, right? You have to learn how to prompt, take a class in prompting. And this professor from Ferris State University, Scott Dell, said, ask AI to help you write the
yeah,
prompt. So,
yeah,
so help me write a good prompt to, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. Oh boy, there's an idea.
yeah. Well, and I think that you touched on a little bit earlier, but at some point, the AI agents will be the ones attempting to build more automation to use more AI in every process, and you'll be able to somehow dump everything about your business into it and let it start doing the thinking you're doing. So, man, it's crazy where this is going. So,
Going
I
fast.
know I just watched a video this morning with Gary Vanderchuck, and he said he took 39 minutes for one prompt the other day. He said he just got caught up in the prompt, but he said, and he kind of made the point, right? It's not the AI, it's but who's going to be able to prompt it best and have this dialogue with it and try to make it think like you think. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
Fascinating, yes.
It's good stuff. This is kind of going way backwards in the conversation, but I forgot to ask it earlier, and I wanted to just ask, and we can kind of a weird place to maybe wind things down. But I am curious how you mentioned your team and you have meetings, and yesterday you had a lot of meetings. A lot of times, some companies are very meeting centric. Some avoid them altogether. Some have no meeting Wednesdays. How often do you guys meeting, and what Do you have some sort of restrictions, time frames, a goal? Everybody required to come with some sort of a, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. What's it like?
I imagine a lot of people here would say we have too many meetings. And we have an L10, L11 management type meeting every week. It moves subject to subject, service to sales to finance, and then overall issue processing every week for 1 hour. We have a project meeting every week with the project team and keeping the projects moving. We have a network services team department meeting every week where they shoot, and both these meetings are shooting for less than 30 minutes. Sometimes they go longer, but getting everybody on the same page takes work, I maintain. We have a sales type meeting every week where we try to keep it to less than 30 minutes. We have a marketing meeting every week. We're trying to keep it to 15 minutes.
Yep.
But we're just trying to keep things moving along and keep people on the same page. It's very interesting in implementing this agentic AI product. You know, some companies do it in 30 to 60 days. Well, who are those some companies? Companies with 5 to 10 employees. They're all sitting in the same room. It's like, hey, I got a problem here. No, we're a bigger company than that. So, number one, implementing the software is more complex, takes more time. But secondly, keeping everybody on the same page, I maintain, takes time. So we do a 30-minute all company meeting once a month. And we just, 6, 8 people get up front, say, here's what's going on, here's status, by the way, this. We have a lot of meetings.
Yeah, you must be doing some things right for what you described and how well things are going for you. And kudos for you. Thank you for sharing today too. Very excited for you personally. So it's great. Very excited. It's a fun stage of life, I imagine, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think in business, I would joke, and again, working in the business, I would joke about, hey, it's going to be great someday when I get to wear one hat and I can be the CEO and just walk in the door and say, how's it going? And that's the opportunity and the challenge of business. And I can actually see that in the future where this organization will run itself. That would be one of the biggest accomplishments in my business
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you said you bought another business, so you love a good challenge. It sounds like. So.
Love a good challenge. That was a year and a half ago, and I'd say we're somewhere around 98% integrated. And so that is what's starting to cook, and that's where, the hats have been moved around and things can start moving faster
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very
Economies of scale.
gratifying.
All the years of experience you brought to the table for that sort of speed that up from someone who had to start from scratch for sure. So. Well, good. Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you pulling back the curtain a little bit for everybody. We like to say we want to have these conversations that typically don't happen out front. And really appreciate you being here today. Thanks so much. This has been great. Thank you again, Mike, for being here today.
Thank you. Likewise,
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.